doing stuff and not worrying about what everybody else is thinking.
Worst case scenario, we get kicked out. We'll just say we were shooting a video,
Right?
or social media.
We're actually with Chick-fil-A social media here. We're doing a campaign. All right. So today I'm here with my friend Danny.
Yep.
Danny, how's it going today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. So I don't even think it's been a year. Honestly, like about 4 months ago, I was skiing by myself and I met Danny on the chairlift out at Blue Mountain, and just from there we've become friends, talking over Instagram, and today's our first time meeting in person. And
Second time.
oh, second time meeting in person, first time hanging out. But I love Danny's perspective on life. He's got some really unique, the way he views things is very unique, and his journey also is really awesome. So today I'm hoping to just ask him a couple questions and share it with you guys. So yeah,
I'm excited to be here, being interviewed by Sam.
apparently it's his first interview too, which
First
is pretty
interview,
crazy.
yeah.
So Danny, to start off, what makes you happiest in life?
So for me right now, surfing makes me the happiest in my life. And the reason why surfing makes me so happy is because it's a form of meditation for me. When I'm riding the wave in the ocean, it's just me and the ocean wave. I'm not thinking about the past. I'm not thinking about the future. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about relationships, how others view me, or even like my personal relationship with my fiance or my family. Like I'm not thinking about anything. My mind is just turned off. It's just me and the wave, and that brings me happiness.
That's amazing.
It's like my sanctuary.
Yeah, you're able to just kind of reset and turn off your brain out there,
Exactly.
experience things.
Yeah.
So through surfing, how has that impacted other areas of your life, like your mental health,
Yeah.
your physical health, and maybe the people you've met as well?
Yeah, so I didn't understand until I got into surfing how poorly I was like maintaining my body. Like I was never obese or anything. I was always a skinny guy, but I was drinking a lot. I guess I would call myself skinny fat,
Okay.
layer of gut,
Yeah.
because of the alcohol that I'm drinking every single weekend,
Yeah.
partying and stuff. But after surfing, like I feel like I'm unlocking the full potential of my physical body. My mobility is improving, my flexibility is improving, and when I got into surfing, I also got into spirituality, which goes hand to hand. I feel like more I unlock my physical capability of my body through surfing, I feel like I'm unlocking the blockages of my body as well, which is helping with like the chakra activation for spirituality. I'm able to think better, feel better, and see the world in a different perspective. I feel like now I'm able to see through the third eye, not just my two physical eyes.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been an awesome experience. I feel like I'm part of this like continuing transformation of not just my body, but like my body, mind, and soul through surfing as well. And I'm meeting awesome people who are also very spiritual in nature, because in my perspective, if you're surfing, you're out in nature and you're always trying to harness and hone the waves of energy.
Yes.
And the energy and frequency coming from the universe. So a lot of surfers are actually spiritual as well, and I'm meeting awesome, great individuals who are very open-minded, have a very unique perspective of life, and that's what surfing brings me
Nice.
joy.
You mentioned something there about them being very driven as well.
Yeah.
Would you say a characteristic amongst not only just the surfers, but the people in the snowboarding community, just the people you've met who are predominantly doing activities and sports, are they more driven, would you say?
Definitely. Yeah, I would definitely say they're more driven. I guess athletes usually are always constantly battling against themselves, like trying to improve themselves, trying to train. So like, yeah, for sure. Like I feel like athletes and people who are doing like a lot of sports and being active outdoors in nature, like they are way more driven, and it's a good motivation. Puts them into what I call a flow state, where they're way more creative and have a creative outlook on life as well.
Absolutely. That's very nice. Yeah. When you're constantly in a battle with yourself and your sport, it really does force you to take a look at the things going wrong in your life and in your craft, and, you know, really drive to perfect that. Would you say that failure is a very big driver in what forces you to succeed within your craft?
Definitely. Yeah. If you're unwilling to fail, in my perspective, then you're just gonna be plateaued. You're not forcing yourself out of your comfort zone. So I think in order for you to grow, I don't think that you should always be looking to fail, put yourself in bad situation where you're prone to failing. But at the same time, I feel like you have to be trying to push your boundary a little bit where you are failing in a safe manner.
Yes.
So you're constantly failing and improving, right?
Need to be willing to make that failure to learn how you can succeed more.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Because as you push through life, I feel like it's kind of like leveling up in a video game. And more levels you unlock, there are going to be bigger and bigger challenges, right? Like that journey of leveling up through life kind of forces you to be able to take more risk, bigger risk, but better calculated risk, right?
Yes.
Like you don't want to be taking stupid risks to get to where you need to be, right? Like, and it's a good lesson.
Now, building on that a little bit, a really good quote I like is, money in the bank won't help you make more money, but money in the bank will allow you to take more risks, allowing you to make more money. So has that, I know this is something we've talked about personally, but would you be willing to share at all how your financial situation has impacted your ability to hone your craft?
So I'm definitely in a grateful financial situation. Not that I never worked hard for it, because I didn't grow up from money. I grew up with immigrant parents where we didn't have a lot, and we made a lot of financial sacrifices for me to be where I am.
Yes.
But I'm fortunate enough to have the financial freedom right now to be able to invest and do the things that I want to be. And in life, I feel like nothing is really given to you for free. You got to go earn it. And unfortunately, we live in a capitalist world, where you kind of need some sort of capital and finance to give yourself the chance to be able to do the stuff that you want to do, build a future, build the dream that you want to build. Unfortunately, it requires capital.
Yep.
That's why I always tell people you have to work hard to be able to raise the capital, to be able to free yourself and do the things that you want to do, right? Like, you can't do it for free, or no one's gonna do it for free for you, right?
No.
Like, so
that's a great way to put it. It's everything you love in life, other than oftentimes your family. It costs money, so take care of the ones around you. That's for sure, because they're the cheapest.
They're the cheapest.
It's yeah, man. The things you enjoy life, they can be pretty pricey, but it may be touching on that a little bit. What are some things that you found in your life that you're really able to enjoy, that brings you fulfillment, that don't cost anything?
Don't cost anything. I mean, definitely connecting with people.
Yeah.
That doesn't really cost you anything. It does cost you time and energy, but if that time connecting with other people, if that's bringing you joy, then are you really losing anything, right? So
that's time well spent, in my opinion. That's for sure. This the reason I'm doing this, sitting in front of camera, talking, or any of it, is just because one of my biggest enjoyments is spending time with people, talking, learning, and then just hopefully this maybe helps somebody enjoys it, anything. And then it's not, and not that this time would ever be wasted. I love spending time talking with my friends, but then it's turned into something, and it's also a memory for the future as well. So I hope somebody is able to enjoy this as much as I'm able to enjoy it in the moment. So it's been great. Yeah.
one thing that I wanted to touch upon, I guess I was previously saying that you do need to work hard to be able to unlock yourself, to be able to build the future or your dream. But I think a lot of people fall into the trap of working too hard and trying to kill themselves to make it and to be able to make money.
Yeah.
I think the best way to approach it is actually not just working hard, but working smart, right? You don't have to work as hard if you're working smart.
Very true. Would you be willing to touch on a little bit the difference? You were talking about working for a smaller company when you first started, and then migrating to a bigger corporation. Now, this is a big change, obviously, in your workforce, and something many people experience. Would you be willing to talk about the difference and how that stressed your body, your mental health, everything?
Yeah, for sure. So my background is in engineering. So I did electrical engineering at U of T for my bachelor and my master's degree. And after that, I ended up joining a very small niche market tech startup where I spent, I think, 4.5 years of my life working there to begin my career. And I was in a very, very fortunate situation where the startup that I joined initially, which didn't even have an office, we were working at a shared office space in the basement of some sort of another building, became so successful that we had a successful public exit where we became a public company.
Very nice.
But for me to be where I am, I also made a lot of sacrifices working at a small company, at a small tech startup, working crazy hours, working till 3-4 a.m. every single day, and working all weekends, where I missed out on a lot of life, and I missed out on a lot of like social outings and events with my friends and family, and it was a big sacrifice. Whereas when I transitioned to working for a large corporation, so at the time, Apple used to be the biggest company in the world, and I was working down in California, working at its headquarters, the one that looks like a UFO building.
The big ring, I'm sure you guys have all seen it. Yeah.
And it was a different experience because on campus, there's 15,000 employees in that building. You're basically just another factory worker, right? You don't mean as much, and they also don't expect you to do everything. Whereas in a small company, I was able to get a bigger exposure to be able to do different areas of work.
Yes.
Cross-functional, across different functional teams. Whereas Apple is like very niche, and you learn to do one task and you just get really good at doing that same task and again and again. But at the same time, because you don't have a large skill set, you can easily be replaced, right? They can just hire another guy to teach that one function, which is basically pressing buttons to run simulation and tests.
The amount of effort and time that you're going to put in working for a smaller company is going to reflect often what you get back out of that. But say you're working for a larger corporation, that often isn't going to be reflected. And now this isn't to say, don't work very hard at your company or work really hard here. But it goes to show where your efforts are put often lies, what your fruit, so what you're going to get back. Because when he put in his time, his dedication, his effort into this smaller company, the rewards were quite fruitful. And then when you're working for this larger corporation, they've seen success. They've seen, tens of thousands of employees. You're just a drop in the bucket at that point. And it becomes a little less meaningful to give your all. And you got to monitor where you're putting your energy. That's the biggest sentiment I want to get across with this is, that's something I want him to touch on as well, is where you're putting your energy is going to greatly affect the energy you get back in the future. So like Danny, you're a big proprietor of your own personal energies, your vibes, all of that. How do you feel that that's affected you and your future?
So to be honest, I wasn't really big in this energy, frequency, vibration spectrum or this space. I was more of a science-oriented guy where I believe in evolution, science, and biology. And spirituality and thinking about from an energy and frequency point of view was actually pretty new to me. I got into it 2 years ago. But it's been a big part of my journey of being spiritual and being more awakened, because it's opened up different perspectives that I would never thought that were possible, because our current advancement in science is very limiting, right? We can only believe what we can observe, and through scientific testing is proven to be true. But there's so much that is undiscovered that we don't know about this universe.
Absolutely.
And having a broader picture, broader view has been a game changer for my life.
Has really opened up your eyes. And so something that we were talking about earlier is me and you both, we said the spirituality, the views of energy and frequencies was honestly, it's taken somewhat as a joke who didn't believe much in it and didn't feel it pertained to our lives very much. But honestly, myself, I've found I've taken it a lot more seriously, viewing your stories and talking about it with you. It was something I was already considering, but just through talking to you, I feel like I've definitely taken it a lot more seriously, seeing how it can affect your life. And I feel the frequencies that you've personally let in and allowed have changed what you're able to do in your life. And when you're taking away those energies that aren't beneficial to you, it leaves you so much more free to be doing the things you want to do.
Exactly.
So was there a turning point you could kind of point to and say, like, this is where I started believing in energy frequencies or anything, or was it just kind of just all of a sudden?
I guess it really started, this spiritual journey actually all started because I wasn't very fulfilled at work. So I was trying to find the purpose of my life. And in doing so, I stumbled upon spirituality.
Really?
And the funny thing is, my spiritual advisor that got me into spirituality is actually my first ex-girlfriend from high school.
No way.
But I just saw her content on Instagram, and that's how I discovered spirituality. I didn't even know what spirituality
Very interesting.
was.
Can you expand on that a little bit more? I'm not sure I'm familiar with like the term of a spiritual advisor. What do they do in your life?
So that's a very good question, because I initially didn't know what spiritual advisors were supposed to do. So I've always battled with anxiety and depression in the past. So I was seeing many different psychotherapists. But once I graduated from psychotherapy, when my therapist told me that he truly believes that I'm in a good enough mental state where I do not need help, because I now, I guess, have all the tools in my toolbox to be able to handle different stressful situation. But once I graduated from psychotherapy, I felt like I wanted to take it the next step. And I felt like therapy was still probably beneficial for me. That's why I seek spirituality without knowing that it was supposed to turn you into a spiritual person. So I was not very religious. I didn't really believe in higher power as much before, but through working with my spiritual advisor, like, I become more spiritual. I now call myself agnostic theist, which means that I believe in higher power. I just don't know what it is, and I cannot prove what it is.
Okay, very
but
nice.
I do believe in higher power.
I actually haven't heard that term before. I'll have to do some research into that, because I think I would put myself somewhere in between that, in that spectrum there. But it truly is, I think, important to believe in something, and it gives you some sort of guidance or set of rules to guide yourself. And it's not like there's any shortage of religions or ideologies to pick from. So you can choose what set of rules you want to follow, but just having those is a great set to a baseline per se to follow. Now, would you say, obviously I think you would probably say both were beneficial to your life, but has the psychotherapy or the spiritual counseling, would you say one has been noticeably more beneficial to your life and mental health?
I personally think that they're both beneficial, because without the one, I feel like you need both.
Yep.
So psychotherapy for me really taught me the tools to be able to manage my own emotions. But if I didn't go through psychotherapy first, I feel like practicing spirituality would be a very foreign subject to me, because it's a lot of introspection.
Yes.
A lot of time alone. And many times in the beginning, especially, you're left alone with scary thoughts, because emotions are scary. You have to, it's like facing your inner emotional demons. So
I'm just laughing. They don't realize it's closed. We're filming at a closed Chick-fil-A right now. I think that's actually really smart. Having those tools, like you were saying, your therapist explained to you, you've learned the tools in the toolbox. Now it's time for you to learn something new.
So I think initially when people begin spirituality, number one thing that they have to go through is the healing of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like digging through, like healing through your darkest, deepest traumas of life, because everyone in life suffers through life. There wouldn't be life without suffering.
Yeah.
And only when you can heal yourself from the suffering, you can start awakening and seeing the world for a better place.
I think that's really well put. And I think that's most definitely true, because as someone myself who's tried to get into spirituality and different thinking many times in my life, I think having the right tools in that toolbox can prevent you from even getting into it to begin with. If you don't understand how to get into what you're talking about or that mindset, you're just going to you're going to keep yourself out of it to the whole time. Struggling with words there a little bit, but it's just a matter of knowing how to perceive your emotions and the things going on around you. And the more you know, the more you learn, it's the more it's going to benefit you. So there's no harm in learning on all sides of things through religion, spirituality, therapy. There's beneficial information to be gained everywhere.
And there's no right or wrong, right? That's the most important thing, right? Like that's what you believe in, what you choose to believe in. There's no right or wrong, right? Because everyone's reality is different, and that's the beauty of life, right? Like you get to choose what you want to believe in, and we just wish that it comes from a place of virtue and high morality, right? Everyone also has a different spectrum for what's moral to them and what's not moral to them. But as long as a group, we aim for high morality and high virtue, the world will be a better place.
I agree. Now, if you just wanted to talk a little bit about quickly, we were talking about being a student of life, and while being a student of life, also being a teacher in its own aspect. Do you want to touch on that a little bit and just talk about how you're a student of life?
Yeah, so I love learning, and I've always loved learning as a kid. Yeah, I was a curious guy. I always wanted to learn more about the world, about science and physics. I guess I was forced to, go through this education system where I'm also forced to learn a lot of things that I didn't quite enjoy myself. But I feel like once I started becoming more spiritually awakened, I felt like I can really go back to my inner child and unlock my curiosity for this universe and this world that I live in.
Yes.
And I feel like that really opened my life to become a student of life again. Whereas I was initially a very curious student of life in my childhood, I felt like it was taken away from the society, by the society, pressuring me to follow the norm, go through regular path of university education and regular path of getting a corporate job. Yeah, I feel like that took away from me being a student, but after I left the corporate matrix and free myself, I feel like I'm going back to becoming a student of life.
Okay, very nice.
I've always enjoyed teaching, and in order for me to teach, I feel like I also need to continuously learning and getting better at teaching. So
very nice.
It goes hand to hand. If you're a great student, you're a great teacher. If you're a great teacher, you can be a great student.
Yes. The quote that I had said earlier, I love it. It's, you can't be a great teacher if you're not always willing to learn. And I think that's what qualifies, people like you as being a great teacher. Just the willingness to always learn and have the best information. When you start to succeed or even just behave differently, change your lifestyle, the people around you can often attempt to keep you on their own level, and oftentimes your friends, your family, the people around you, they want to see you doing the same things as them. They want to see you living the same life, going to the same places. That's just a common subconscious instinct. As much as you would like to believe it's not so, that is how humans act. And so subconsciously, when our friends succeed, unless we are able to really think about that, we can drag them down a little bit. And as somebody who's been attempting to really change their lifestyle, I've seen this happen a bit. And Now, I talked to you and I asked for some advice. I said, what do you do to deal with this? And what you said kind of surprised me a little bit. And not to say it's not true. I think it's great advice, but I wasn't expecting it at all. Can you share that advice? Like, what would you do when the people around you are trying to keep you on their same level?
Like, it is the harsh truth, but I think there are two types of people out there. The ones that will see you succeed and want you to succeed more by helping you out. And there are people who see you succeed and are jealous and want to bring you down back to their level because that's their comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
They need validation that they need to bring you down to their level because that's their reality, right? They're holding on to their reality so tightly that they don't want to let go of. Therefore, they're forcing you to be dragged down back to their reality, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas, because they feel trapped in their life, if they see someone who's not trapped in their life, they feel jealous, right? And they feel like there's something wrong with my life, there's something wrong with me. And that's why people are envious and jealous and they want to bring you down.
Yeah.
And the harsh truth is, you almost don't have a choice but to keep climbing because you don't live for them. You don't live for others. So you only have one option, which is for you to grow as a person,
yes,
as a soul. And through your progression, if there are people that are trying to bring you down, you don't have a choice but to let them go.
Yes.
And it's really difficult cutting people, but I had to cut out one of my best friends that I met in California. And if I didn't go through that life experience of the pain of cutting someone out that you really, truly loved and had respect for,
life would be very different.
Life will be very different. And I feel like only when you're like learning and fixing yourself through tough situation, you're really growing and learning.
And this isn't to say that anybody in a different situation is, on a lesser path or anything. It's all about letting the people around you follow their own path and not trying to keep them onto the path that you think is best for them. Let everybody do what they want to do, as long as it's, positive for their own health and mental health. You can attempt to change things there. You can only do what you can do in those aspects, but just let people run their own race. And that's always going to get you farther in life as well.
Exactly. It goes back like hand to hand, right? Like, you also can force your reality onto someone else and like keep them stuck inside your reality, right? You gotta let every people live their own reality, live their own dream, live their own life, and everyone does have their own path.
Yes,
their own unique path, right?
Very true.
It's part of our DNA. It's all designed into our genetic instruction.
We all have our own unique code, and we're going to be all doing something just a little bit different. Even if it's close to the same, we'll never all be the same. And so touching on that a little bit, you said you did one thing in specific when you became successful, or you reached kind of the goal you were looking to achieve. And that was not telling anybody, right? And so how do you feel like that benefited you and your relationships?
I guess I always viewed money as root of all evil. So early in my career, I was in a very, very fortunate situation to be able to obtain quite a bit of money and success. And I kept it to myself because I didn't want to advertise to everyone that I have money. And I was, to be honest, scared that people would treat me differently because I want them to treat me for who I am, not for the person I've become through money and success, right? I don't want them to see me just for the money and the success.
You don't want to be seen as a number. You want to be seen as Danny.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's.
Oh, sorry.
No, I think that's really smart. And when you told me that, it can be a bit shocking. Like And I'm sure that's probably how some of the people around you felt. They were shocked, but it does make sense. And I'm sure any of the genuine people can really appreciate that and see why you did it.
Right.
So we talked a lot about balance today, and just the balance in the world. And I think just if we can get like one point across today, it's just make sure everything in your life is balanced. Do your absolute best, whether it's the consumption of your cannabis, the consumption of the music you listen to, your entertainment, the sweets, everything. Every little part of your life needs to be balanced, and that's what's going to propel you forward. So you want to say anything on that a little bit?
So going back to everything being balanced, I guess the way that I see this universe, which is in a shape of a torus, and it's always in balance, self-replenishing, self-sustaining form factor that could sustain life. Because if it wasn't a sustainable shape, fundamentally, this universe should have exploded and blew up.
Mm-hmm.
So everything has to be in balance. It's a flow of balance. It's constantly flowing in motion, and it's just self-sustaining, and it's always self-replenishing. That is essence of life.
Now, for anybody who might not have caught what you were saying there, do you want to explain? You're talking about the torus energy fields, right?
Exactly.
Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm not an area expert.
Well, he's got some education in the field. Why don't you say your qualifications?
So I guess my background is in electrical engineering and circuit design. So I have a pretty strong foundational background on circuits, electricity, and magnetism.
Yes.
But I wouldn't call myself the area expert, but how I see this universe is from a electrical engineer's point of view, where I see things from electricity and magnetism.
Mm-hmm.
And everything in this universe is basically a shape of a toroidal field. It's hard to explain, but if you just Google toroidal field,
It's like a donut.
It's like a donut.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. So human beings also create field of electricity because your heart is always pulsing.
mm-hmm.
So it's sending pulses of waves of energy around your body, and also your blood and your spinal fluid is actually a charged particle, meaning that as it moves around the body, it's creating a field of electric and magnetic energy.
Okay.
So basically, your heart or your physical body is constantly creating a field of electrical and magnetic energy around your body. And this is what people usually call vibration, vibe, or their aura. So when you meet someone,
That's their aura.
That's their aura.
Really?
So if you
Okay.
meet someone and you feel like, oh, this person has a really good vibe, that means that they have a high energy, high vibrational aura.
Wow. Okay.
And it's produced by their heart, right? It's your heart creating these electrical signals around your body. And humans are actually the micro view of this universe, because I think our consciousness already contains the entire universe in a micro model view.
Yeah.
And a macro model view is this reality, this universe that we live in. And I think fundamentally the building block of each atom to a molecular level is a torus field, because it's basically a vibration of light that creates atom. And that vibration of the light is probably in the shape of a torus, which is sustainable. And that's the building block that builds up the entire universe.
Yes.
Everything, I think, in the universe is in the shape of a toroidal field. Yeah. But different sizes, obviously,
Yes,
right?
and
An atom is, you can't even see it.
And we're all within one large
Yeah,
field as well.
exactly, yeah.
Wow, that's quite
And
something.
that's why, as humans as a whole, as we start to vibrate at a higher energy, the entire energy of this universe will also be vibrating at a higher frequency and higher energy. And we're already going there, because throughout history, Earth is vibrating at a higher frequency now.
Yes.
So we're only gonna get to a better place.
Wow, that's really cool.
Unless people are stuck in lower vibrating frequencies.
Raise your energy. Raise your energy. You know, I want to see this world going crazy places.
Yeah, exactly.
But I knew of actually a little bit about the torus energy fields, but I never knew to that detail. That's really cool. I I love that, and especially that it comes from the heart. Like that's what more of a direct message do you need? Like your kindness, what you put into the world through your heart, through your eye, like everything, your actions go all the way out to the largest scale in the world, the world's energy. You are contributing to that. So it just goes to show that from the smallest scale to how it affects you, it goes all the way out to affecting everybody in the world. So, make the world a better place, man. It's not that hard.
Yeah. Since we're talking about the human body, the way that I see human body, we're basically wireless antennas.
Okay.
So not just our heart, but our pineal gland in the middle of your brain, I guess in between your eyebrows, far back into the center of your brain. That's where your pineal gland sits. It's like a little pea-size, like bean-looking gland, and that is responsible for wireless communication.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And what it really does is, the reason why the pineal gland is called the third eye is because it's, from an electrical point of view, it's called a transducer, which means that it takes electrical inputs and outputs a visualization.
Okay.
So basically, if your heart is a wireless receiver receiving information through frequency and waves from the universe, it converts it into an electrical signal, which gets sent up to your brain through neurotransmitters in a form of electrical signaling.
Wow.
And that data gets converted using your pineal gland from electrical signals to a visual signal. And that's how you're able to see this visualization, which is called the third eye, or the third eye vision.
So that helps us perceive people's emotions and how their social triggers and stuff. Would you say, like, is that visualizing that, or is it more on like a whole other kind of fourth dimension type of thing where we're viewing emotions as frequencies and stuff like that?
So I think you can use your third eye to view many, many things.
Okay.
Right? Like you said, it will help you unlock the capability of sensing people's vibration, their aura, and their emotions and their energy better. Right? But it can also do a lot of things, like you said, like going into higher dimensions, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and it's actually called outer body experiences, or astral travel, or astral projection, where you're able to project your soul into different dimensions through your third eye. And I personally don't practice astral travel a lot. And I have my own reasons why I don't, because it's so time consuming and energy consuming.
Yes.
Where after you astral travel, you're so drained of energy that I feel like I just want to take a nap every day. I feel like that's not really the point of life. Life is for you to go out in your physical body and experience the world, right? So that's the reason why I don't think astral travel is necessary. It's a good experience, but
takes you away from being present.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. No, that is something I definitely agree on. And while it's incredibly important to develop your mind and experience things, becoming too infatuated with that removes you from living in the present, and it's so draining. It is so draining. So is that, you said it's something you don't do often? It's something you've experimented with from time to time?
Yeah. So I was really big into astral travel in the summer of 2023. Where I was practicing every single day.
Oh, wow.
Meditating for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, sometimes outdoors under the sun, trying to astral travel.
Yeah.
And I was pretty successful doing so. But the more I did it, I started questioning myself, what is the real point of doing astral travel? What is the point of visiting different places in this universe?
Yeah.
Because what do I really get out of it? Right? Like, I could be present in the moment and doing the stuff that I love, like surfing, being outdoors, spending time with your friends.
Yeah.
To me, that was more valuable than wasting hours and hours meditating to astral travel.
Yes. No, I think that's a very good point, and more than fair. But would you, kind of like I had just said, do you think it's important for everybody to experience that or to practice it from once in a while? No, okay.
Yeah, so my perspective is that we are all doing it already.
Oh,
because
okay.
we're all astral traveling. We're all doing outer body experiences every single day when we go to sleep.
Very true.
When we dream, we do separate from our physical body, right?
Yep.
Our consciousness is not in our physical body anymore. We don't remember when we're sleeping because our consciousness is at a higher realm, higher dimension. It's somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
And it's in a dream state, dream world. It's an imaginative, non-material world.
Mm-hmm.
So you're already doing it every day. So why would you need to do more during the day? So now I'm more keen on trying to honing the ability to recall your dream.
Oh, nice.
And to be able to control your dream a little bit more, which is called lucid dream, when you gain the control of your dream.
Yes.
And now it just becomes a simulation where you can simulate whatever you want in your dream.
That's good. That was going to be my next question. I was going to ask. So I guess if you don't feel that it's important for everybody to experience that, do you think everybody should at least try and be familiar with their sleeping state and their dream state?
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So the thing with outer body experiences is that number one rule is that if you don't remember it, it never happened because there's no proof of it happening, right?
Yes.
So if you don't remember it, it didn't happen. But that memory retrieval is actually the hardest part.
Yes.
Because when you separate your consciousness is out of your physical body, when it's in your dream or even at a higher dimension or at different realms like astral realms, your consciousness can only remember what happened there at a different dimension. When you return to your body, physical body now has to try to remember and retrieve that memory from a different dimension. And that's the hardest part, which is the reason why many people don't remember their dreams. And it's hard to remember dreams that happened many hours ago.
Yeah.
So when people remember dream, it's what happened within the last couple minutes, right before you woke up, right? But then the dreams that happened maybe an hour or two ago, there is no way you're remembering, right? So the goal of doing outer body experiences is apparently to be able to make sure that it's quick and you remember it.
I see. Okay. Do you have any tips, like after experiencing all this and doing it yourself? What tips would you give people trying to work on it from home, from scratch?
Yeah.
They're new to this.
Exactly. So the number one tip, and I'm also doing it myself because I want to get better at remembering my dream, is to journal your dream. As soon as you remember it, write it down.
Smart.
Or you can use your Apple Watch to talk to it and voice record it, because once that memory is gone,
it's gone. You
cannot retrieve it. You will not remember what happened in your dream, and if you don't remember, it never happened.
Yes. Very nice. If you can recall, in the last couple weeks, has there been an impactful dream that you've had that's maybe taught you something?
No, but
nothing.
There were some interesting dreams. Yeah, where one of my friend was working at the airport as a TSA officer. I don't even know why. Like random things
just
like that.
Something, but you can remember it, right?
Yeah.
So that's.
And I wrote it down. So I'm doing my homework.
Good.
Every single time I'm trying to remember the dream and write it down. It doesn't happen often, and with the use of cannabis, to be honest, to be quite frank with you, it's hard to dream.
Yes.
It promotes deep sleep instead of REM sleep.
Yes.
And REM is when you actually dream. So if you're constantly using cannabis products, you're not going to remember your dream.
No, it actually, at a certain point, I've seen research that that claims after a certain point of permanent cannabis use, you aren't having any more REM sleep. And so that is definitely something to think about if you are looking to try astral projection or you want a lucid dream, because it's very beneficial to your mind state, learning new things, being able to perceive life differently. It's all within a dream. And the substances that you use can actually greatly impact that. So I've noticed it myself when I take tolerance breaks. And yeah, we're filming. Just keep going. And so so I haven't actually had a full REM sleep with dreams in over 2 years. It's not great, honestly, but when I do take months off beforehand, like I said, I haven't had it in about 2 years, but I've taken about a month or two break of cannabis, and I know the dreams hit you like crazy. And that's one of the biggest things I hear when I talk with friends or people around me who've taken either quit cannabis or taken breaks. The dreams are crazy. They're going to come back, and if you aren't expecting them, they can be perceived as nightmares too, and very bad. But oftentimes you are such a different person when you're high. And one of the things I preach all the time to the people who are constant smokers like myself is know yourself when you're sober. Know your sober self and your high self, because those are two different people. And if you want to tell me they're the same person, I'd love to meet them both. But it's like, know yourself when you're sober and when you're high, because when you go back to taking those tolerance breaks, or say it's even a forced tolerance break, you're on a family vacation, those dreams, your own self, your whole mindset, it's going to feel scary unless you remember what it's like being sober. So, you're somebody who is a somewhat constant user of cannabis, but I wouldn't say you're to the level where you're doing it all the time. How do you find it? How do you find that balance?
So I guess I am doing it all the time. I would be lying if I say that I don't do it all the time, because on most days I do consume at least a little bit of cannabis product. Whether that's 5 milligrams of THC or 10 milligrams, I'm usually always taking one. Not that I'm addicted to cannabis, because I feel like I can go for a week or 2 weeks, a month if I wanted to. And to be honest with you, cannabis is a very good tool. And like you said, it changes who you are. I don't think it changes who you are, but if there's a frequency associated with your sober self, being high on cannabis is changing that frequency to a different value.
Yes.
Of a higher value usually, right? Because being high makes you feel good.
Yes.
So you're raising your vibrational energy to a higher frequency of love and joy. So it makes everything fun because you're vibrating at a higher frequency.
Yes. And while there is an abundance created of often positive things like happiness, joy, there can also be some negative side effects, which are often easily controllable, but anxiety, paranoia, things can also come as side effects. But created through those positive ones, joy, happiness, that abundance in the wrong places can be not beneficial to your life. It's important to try and keep that cannabis usage for the times when you need it, right? Because if you're making everything joyful, happy, just abundantly, is everything are you able to truly feel happiness? Is everything happy? Because there needs to be that level. And while you are doing it every day or quite consistently, I think the balance comes in with overconsumption. And it sounds like you've really found your daily balance in what serves you right, where you're still a functioning human and enjoying everything you do.
Yeah.
And also, still staying elevated and medicated.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like it took me a while to find this balance, because obviously I want to be functional when I'm high.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that I have to be functional all the time, because sometimes I do want to relax and get loose.
Mm-hmm.
But it really pays to know how to be in a state where you are feeling good, high, but very functional, socially functional, to be able to do social activities.
Yes.
And I feel like I found my balance, like very good balance now, where on demand, I know how to put myself in different frequency categories. Yes. Where I feel like, I'm feeling down, so I can consume this amount to be at certain frequency higher than where I started.
So would you say it was more so getting to know yourself and your own person than getting to know like the cannabis?
Yeah. I think
okay. So it all comes through personal learning. Yeah. And the more you can learn about yourself, better yourself, it's going to help in all the areas.
If you're trying to basically know yourself in terms of like your vibration, energy, and frequency, meaning that at a certain emotional state, you know, understand the spectrum of where you are, and you're able to manage it because you know yourself. Like you know your emotional state. Maybe I'm feeling shameful, guilty, angry. I know I'm in a low vibrating state of like say 100 hertz.
Yes.
But if I'm feeling grateful, joy, happy, and supported, I know I'm vibrating at a higher frequency, say 400, 500 hertz frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then now by being in the spectrum or experiencing different amounts of emotion and different states of emotion, you kind of know yourself better and you know exactly where you're sitting. So then you're basically in control, because if you know where you are, you know what to do to get you out of that state.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you need. If I'm feeling low, I know I need more joy.
You know, you need blank. The more you get to know yourself, it's, you know, whether you need joy, food, whatever that missing puzzle piece is. It's like you're able to complete that equation, making yourself complete, right? And it just does worlds for you, being able to know yourself and know what completes you.
So one thing that is very important is that by knowing yourself, now you're able to put a label to your emotion.
Yes.
So say you know that you're feeling unworthy, then by labeling it, saying that, oh, I'm currently in a state of unworthiness, ironically, giving it a label gives me more power over that emotion, and now I'm in control. But people usually are afraid that by putting a label, they're actually losing control and giving more power to that emotion. So if you're feeling guilty, people mistakenly think that by labeling and saying that I feel guilty is actually going to make me feel worse, because it's allowing guilt to grow, manifest, and giving it more energy. But it's actually the opposite. By giving it a label, say I am feeling guilty, I'm actually acknowledging it and giving power to myself, not the emotion.
Yeah.
For me to have better control and to be able to deal with it.
The awareness of that emotion allows you to address that problem better, you find.
Exactly. But you got to know yourself, because how can you give it a label if you don't know yourself?
Yes, that's very true. And I think that's actually a very common sentiment in today's age with the popularization of therapy and things like that. People are kind of afraid to label their emotions and feelings, you know, calling depression, or the feeling of anxiety. It can add almost another level of angst to things. But I do agree with you. And I think if you're able to label those things, it's much easier to address the problem. I remember people, when I first went to therapy, or even like talking to my parents or people around me who were trying to help, they'd say, oh, like, how are you feeling? What are you feeling like? And I didn't even have the ability to describe that. And just growing from there, and now having control over my own emotions and feelings, I could tell you every emotion I'm feeling all the time in full detail, right? So I do think that comes with knowing yourself, and it's greatly, it can affect how you're able to handle your problems. And so
the benefit of exploring yourself through the use of cannabis is that it helps you push your vibration, your frequency and energy to a higher state that you've never been before. So I kind of use it as a tool, right? Because if I'm in my comfort zone of known emotions, it's hard for me to get out of that comfort zone. But I feel like the use of cannabis kind of helped me get out of my comfort zone, push myself, and put myself in a little bit more, I guess, creative or uncharted territory
new situations,
exactly,
new frequencies.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. New frequency, and for me to learn new lessons, learn new things.
Yes. Yeah, so that's actually something I haven't really, I haven't put much direct thought into. I've been using cannabis for a long time, and I've seen directly how it impacts my life and my situations around me. I never put much thought into the direct impact on the energy of my own body, but it makes so much sense with the creation of abundance, with how much like abundance it is always creating, whether it's making you hungry or making you feel extra joyful. For it to increase your energy is only logical. So, and that actually then creates a new lens for me to view all the experiences I've gone through while on cannabis as being at a higher frequency, and it actually now lets me perceive them a little bit differently and possibly learn some new lessons. So that's a very good way of looking at things.
I just thought of something now, but you mentioned munchies.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why you get munchies when you're high is because you're using so much energy to create creativity.
Yes. Okay.
That you're consuming so much creative energy that your body needs to refuel.
Yes.
And the fastest way to refuel your brain is actually sugar.
Really?
So that's why you crave like gummies
With the easy
and
carbohydrates.
chocolate. Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Huh. That's a very good theory.
Because your body knows exactly what it needs.
Yes.
And it's telling you that, hey, I'm running low on sugar for my brain because being high makes you more creative, and it's using your more creative part of the brain, right?
Huh. I really like that point of view. That's really interesting. Do you feel that hash rosin gummy at all?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay. How do you like? So something we were talking about earlier is the health side of cannabis, and like I truly don't think that information is spread around enough. I'm a big proprietor of all the health benefits of cannabis, and also finding the healthy methods of consumption. So as a smoker yourself, or a
former
smoker, yes. What was that tipping point where you just felt like this isn't something that I want to keep putting into my body, but this is something I want to keep doing?
Yeah. So I guess I fell into the love of vaping cannabis products because it's so easy, so accessible. If you feel like you need a little help from a high, it's right there, accessible. You can vape. And most places will allow you to vape indoors, especially at a bar, club, lounges. And living with a vape all the time, every single day, I felt like I developed a cough from it. And my lungs just didn't feel good. And especially now that I'm trying to be a surfer.
Health is like a priority.
Health is a very high priority. And it's literally life or death in certain situations out there in the ocean with big waves, and I just don't want to take the risk of unhealthy lung contributing to a risky situation out in the water.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That made a lot of sense.
So I did the switch over from vape and doing dabs using, what was my device? Carta Focus.
The Carta Focus.
Yeah.
He had the E-Rig.
Yeah, exactly. I had the E-Rig, which I also really, really love. But I basically made a switch over to doing pure edibles only for my body. So currently I'm doing either pills or tablet forms.
Yep.
Or I'm doing the
tinctures.
The tinctures,
yes.
Exactly.
Yes, very nice. Yeah, and that is actually a very healthy method of consumption. And something we were talking about a little more in between that is the input within your edibles, whether it be distillate, hash, rosin. It's not common, but live resin edibles. And so most commonly it's the distillate edibles, which you've tried. Mm-hmm. And then you said nowadays you're getting the rosin ones.
I'm getting the rosin tablets.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I can't remember if I asked you earlier, do you notice a difference at all in between when you buy some distillate pills or the rosin ones, or not really?
I feel like it's an unfair comparison because the reason why I get the rosins is because it comes in a 5 milligram form.
So it's not going to be as strong as the other ones anyway.
It's not as strong as the 10 milligram edibles that I take.
Okay.
So I feel like maybe I should go back and do a test.
Maybe.
Do 10 milligrams of each and see how I feels, but I think I do feel like the rosins are the broader spectrum.
Yes,
product.
That's very true. The cannabinoids and terpenes within rosin are most often taken out of distillate edibles. While distillate can have terpenes added in, they're often fake, and it's never going to be the same effects, that full range. I guess for a little bit of a comparison, how you feeling off of? I guess we did about 20 milligrams hash rosin. How you feeling off that?
I'm feeling good and creative.
Yeah,
But
it's not taking you out.
it's not taking me out, and I think it's because we're sitting down. I probably don't notice.
True,
that
we'll
fact,
have to
but
go
when
and
I
stand.
get up and walk around this mall, I feel like I might be tripping.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
see.
Well, that's good.
Anything that you wanted to ask?
I don't know. Now we just kind of got into chatting, which I was enjoying, and we're touching on other ones. I can't think of anything else. Can you?
One thing that I think my view on cannabis is, at least for me, because I think every body acts differently to different substances. But for me, personally, I feel like cannabis is always an amplifier. So it's amplifying the effect or the emotion. So if I'm doing something fun, it amplifies the fun, makes it even more fun. That's why being high feels so good. And doing the things that you already love high feels even better. Like, for example, sex is already good, high sex is even better. Or like surfing is fun, but high surfing is more fun.
Yes.
Not that I'm promoting high surfing, because I think it's a very
Can be dangerous,
but
as long as you're experienced and know what you're doing, then
or for example, snowboarding. I got into a point where I'm very, very comfortable with snowboarding, that I also feel very safe snowboarding high.
yes.
So you gotta know yourself and your limits.
Nice.
But I feel like it's an amplifier, and it's not just an amplifier, but cannabis also amplifies your frequency, and as an effect, will make you feel better.
Yes.
It will make you feel more loved. It will bring out more fun. It will
Give you more energy.
More energy, exactly, and get you out of, I guess, lower state of energy, which is shame, guilt, unworthiness, fear, anger, irritation.
Yep. Very nice. Yeah. I actually get a lot of questions when I'm rock climbing. People are like, you're high? I'm like, well, I mean, not really. I smoke all day, but I could be higher. But like the energy and mindset that you get from that is largely amplifying. Anytime I go into physical activity, I'm often using that as a performance boost. There is a reason it's banned from most Olympic sports and sports competitions, right? So
for you, I guess my question for you is, in what sense does it boost your performance?
The just general physical energy I have when I go into the sport, and then longevity, I find also, like, it boosts my muscles, whether it be directly giving them a bit of like, it lightens up the tension a little bit in my arms, because I get very tense because I don't have much extra fat. It's just muscle mass, so my muscles can get very tense. It will often it loosens those up a little bit, and then the healing process also, I find, expedites that. So not only is it giving me more energy during, but it lets me get back to it quicker as well. So
that sounds amazing, because I do not feel that way.
No, really?
I feel like it makes my body feel heavier and slower.
Okay.
So for me, it's okay snowboarding high, because even
you're weighted down, and
I'm weighted down. Like, it doesn't require a lot of quick maneuvers.
No.
I'm just leaning into a carve, and I can have fun leaning into shifting my weight, leaning into deep carves. But like, for example, surfing, I feel like things happen so fast. The waves are moving. You have to make quantum micro adjustments real time, where I think surfing high is very detrimental, because it slows down your body, and your body is just unable to update and move along the waves.
No, I can totally see where you're coming from there, and I have certain days when I just feel I've gotten too high before my activity, and that's why I try and temper it now, where if I'm going to go, say, climbing or biking, skateboarding, I won't get too high, because you can very
microdosing.
I'm microdosing my cannabis before I get active, or if I'm smart with it, I'll take a really nice sativa strain, and that will completely boost my energy, even more so than it would be like microdosing a hybrid or an indica. Most times, you can hear there's so much nowadays about the myths of indica, sativa, hybrid, blah blah blah. Just know your strains.
More about that, because I'm curious as well.
Yeah, we could go into that a little bit. There's, with the popularization of legal cannabis, the government has just put out all these myths and stuff. While the information and the myths were out there to begin with, they've ran with them and sold you these myths, like THC content. That was something we talked about earlier. Like, what is the difference between a product that's 99% THC and a product that's 88% THC? So often the distillate pens, edibles, any form of distillate that you're going to be getting is going to be rated like 99, 98, 97% THC, because at its purest form, or at its form, all it is THC. There's no cannabinoids, terpenes. It is, if it were visualized as spectrum, it would be this. Now, rosin, hash rosin, live resin, the larger the scale grows, you can get full spectrum edibles or carts, which often can be really good too. They can be a little bit harsher. You're often looking from we're looking for a spectrum in between about 79 to 149, and that's in the units of, it shows up as U, that's micron, 79 micron. And a full spectrum is often in between 25 all the way up to 220, or 45 all the way up to 220. And so that is your micron spectrum. And so when somebody says you're getting a full spectrum product, truly you should be getting 25 to 220, experiences all the spectrums. And so all the larger size heads and stuff that are sifted out in those lower to higher size bags are called fats and lipids. And so that can affect multiple things, such as the quality of the smoke, the color, consistency, all the above. So,
and the taste profile as well, right?
Taste profile as well, absolutely. I actually find full spectrum most often will taste a bit stronger. Some people really like the taste of the 79 to 150, because it's I don't know, it's there's so many different conceptions, misconceptions, myths. I don't want to get too much into it right now, because it is like, it's a lot of details, a touchy subject as well. Everybody believes their own thing, and so whatever you believe, I'm not knocking that, unless you only smoke flower rosin. I'm kidding, but yeah. So there's just there's so many different buzzwords put along with your cannabis, and so some of them include sativa, indica, and hybrid. And so commonly, your indica is known to get you nice and sleepy. Sativa is supposed to be getting you jumping, and a hybrid's a mix of the two, right? So this actually isn't true, and it doesn't really mean anything. You can have a sativa that's going to hit you like a truck, and it's going to put you to sleep. You can have an indica that's going to do the opposite. This changes on a variation of things. One, each strain affects every person differently. Yeah. Just like health, we're all going to have different effects to all these different things. We all have different receptors within our brains, and we react with the THC differently. Two, it's all about genetics. Genetics are the true driver of the effects of your strains. So you can have a sativa strain that is genetically known to be a heavy hitter. That's going to be more like an indica than anything, but it can still be marketed as a sativa. Indica and sativa are actually most used to classify the plant type, because your plants grow differently in an indica plant or a sativa plant. An indica is usually known to be a bit shorter, nice and bushy. Sativas grow often a lot taller, and they're not as bushy, they go straight. So these are all things that can change based on the plant, genetic, but don't get so caught up on what number and what words beside your weed. Do some research on your genetics and find the ones that you like. And the ones.
What will be your advice on finding what you like? As someone
try. You just gotta keep trying different ones and journal what works for you. Right on. So now it also depends where you're gonna get your cannabis, right? Because Joe Schmo down the street can tell you it's one thing. It's not that thing, right? The name of the game is renaming your strain to make it sound awesome. Yeah. So
like a brand new product.
Exactly. So get it from people you trust. Get it from people you know where it's coming from. So then you know it's real genetics. And then journal. Like you're a big proprietor of journaling, and it's helped your life. Yeah. Just especially in these things as well. Say you had a strain that really didn't work with you. Make sure you journal that down so you're not doing that again. Yeah. And then say it's the other way around. You find something that's really good for your sleep, or this boosts your appetite a lot. This one in particular made you creative. If you can find those and utilize them like a toolbox, you're going to be very well off.
Exactly. That's very good advice.
Thank you.
And you mentioned using it as a tool in your toolbox,
yes.
right? I think that's a very good way to put it, because if you know how you react to different products and different strains, then you're just more in control. You're more familiar with your set of tools that are available to you in your toolbox.
Exactly. No, I think it's exactly that. That's all it really should be, is a tool for you in your toolbox. And make sure you're utilizing it properly, not overutilizing it, and I think you'll be fine. You got anything else you want to touch on? We're killing it today.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah? Awesome. Well, I think we're calling it at like an hour 10 here. We got lots to show you guys. I'm really excited to get this one out. Thank you so much, Danny.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast.
Awesome. Everybody take care.